Welcome. I'm so glad that you are here, and the reason I'm glad you're here is because this is an important show. It really is. Sometimes hearing the persecution that someone else has faced, hearing the difficulties they've had, hearing the real life trouble and struggle that they've had, it really does put your own life into perspective. That's what this show is going to do. It's going to put all of our lives into perspective. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. We all know that it's hard to stand for what you believe. We've been told before that if you don't stand for something, you will fall for absolutely anything. So we try to have a backbone and to stand firm on whatever our principles of faith or morals are. But sometimes we know up front that if we do that, we're going to maybe lose face, or it's going to be difficult for us. Maybe we'll be ostracized in some way from the people we work with or the people that we live near. So we know it's going to be difficult. But most of the time when we stand for what we believe in, we don't think it might possibly cost us our lives, particularly in the West part of the world where it's okay to freely express what you believe in. So we know that it's not going to cost us, hopefully, our safety and our lives, but it is not that way for everybody. Today we're going to meet someone who has a story that really is one of the most eye-opening stories I've ever heard, of someone who chose not just for a day or two or a week or two, but over a lifetime to stand for what she believes in, and it has literally on occasion almost cost her her life. Will you please help me welcome Miss Virginia Prodan to the show today.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
I'm so glad to meet you. I'm so honored to meet you because I have a friend who lives near us, because you and I live kind of in the same neck of the woods now, we do. And we have a mutual friend, and she has told my husband and I about your story. She's completely captivated by the kind of woman that you are, small in stature, just about 5 feet. Are you even 5 feet?
Under 5.
Under 5 feet, so small in stature, but you have a great big story. You have a lot of strength. You have a lot of stick-to-itness that a lot of people just don't have. And so I want to go right to the beginning so that we can really understand the depth of what you've had to face to stand for your faith. So tell us where you're originally from.
I'm originally from Romania.
Romania, okay.
And I was born under the socialist and communist government.
And for some of us that don't quite fully understand what that would feel like and what that regime was like for you to live underneath, could you just describe that just a little bit?
I usually say that socialists and communists, based on my own experience, is a land of lies and a prison land.
Okay.
A land of lies because the government controls everything, even the notion of the truth, and tells you lies, and you're obligated to repeat that lies as the official truth.
And can you give us an example of what some of those lies would be that you now know as lies, but I would say that probably for young people growing up, learning in school, whatever the government is kind of perpetuating as the truth, you don't think it's a lie then, you just think this is life, this is the way things are supposed to be. What would some of that look like?
The government, the dictator, Nicolae Ceausescu, will tell us that he brought us the golden era and we were starving to death. He declared himself God, and he required us to worship him and not Christ. And for that reason, many people were put in jail or disappeared or killed.
And what year were you born?
Oh, you asked me.
Oh, come on. Okay, so just tell us then what years you lived in Romania. Can you give us just a round, so we can see what age range or what years we're talking about, just to give some dates to this.
We are talking 60, 80, 88. I left Romania in 1988.
You left Romania in 88. How old were you when you left Romania?
Aha, you're insisting on knowing my
Well,
age.
because I'm just trying to get some framework of what season of life you were in when all of this was taking place.
I was very young. I
Yes.
was very young.
Okay, very young.
I was very young because at that time in Romania, we went from 12th grade to applying for a graduate school. We did not have college. So by the time I graduated from law school, I was 23 years old.
23 years old. So you've grown up in communist Romania this entire time. Tell us about your family life. What did that look like for you?
I do remember very vivid, very real, the time that I started to watch my parents. I was 6 years old, and my parents were very politically correct outside of our home and trying to do everything that the government required them to do. But I still watch them inside of our home whispering what they believe about the government and how the government took day by day more of their freedom. And as a kid, I felt very insecure. I felt like nobody's gonna protect me. My parents will do whatever the government wants them to do. And I made a decision at 6 years old that I will not live this kind of life.
At 6?
At 6, and I decided that the only way not to live this kind of life is to find out the truth and to speak up for the truth.
And
because
you literally
nobody,
remember this at 6
yes,
years old,
I
making
do
this
remember.
sort of decision?
Yes, because not only that I watched my parents doing this, living double life, but we had in our family a very important kind of habit. Every single year, we had a family reunion. And during those family reunions, I watched my relatives' lawyers coming to the reunion, and anytime they will come, other relatives will surround them, and they will ask questions. And for me, as a 6 years old, I was thinking, wow, those lawyers know the truth. So I put those things together. I don't want to be like my parents, but I want to find the truth. And I thought, I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to find out the truth and speak up for the truth. That was my dream. God's dream was much bigger.
So tell us when his dream began to unfold in your life.
Later on in life, later on, after I graduated from law school, and I want to mention something that is important, very important for a lot of people here in America that buy into the new government. If you accept socialism in America, the government will give you free stuff, free education, and free. Let me explain my own life under this kind of so-free called things. When I apply in socialism and in communism, in my own life, when you are under those kind of governments, you are not the one deciding your career. Right here, you want to be a doctor and your parents are lawyers, that's fine. You do whatever you want. But in communism and socialism, the government has to approve you for a specific.
So you're really not free to do what it is that you really please.
No, not at all. In fact, I applied to law school, but later on I learned that in order to be allowed by the government to take the entrance exam to law school, my political file had to be approved by the government. And again, that's another notion that I want to make sure that people in America are aware. Under socialists and communists, from the time that you are born to the time that you die, you have a political file that the government keeps on you. You have never access to that file to say, hold on just 1 second, this is wrong, I can prove that it's wrong. No, only the government, and the government makes those decisions, puts the facts, makes the decision. So the government looked in my file, and they had to look for 3 things. The first one was that my parents never created anything against government. They never publicized something or put people together and say, let's make a revolution. My parents were not arrested for expressing that in public or expressing that in their own home and being reported by their own kids to the government.
So whether or not you could pursue your dreams of going into law had a lot to do with what your parents had done.
Yes, and the third one was that my parents were not Christians.
So if your parents were Christians, you could not.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So I passed that and I went to law school. And I studied 4 years in law school, and I was very convinced that I will learn really well. In those pages, I will find out the truth and I will speak up the truth. I graduated. I don't have the time to explain because there is a procedure after you finish where you practice. It's not like here in America, you choose the right or the left corner of your street or another city where you want. No, the government decides for you where you're going to practice, what city, what area, and so forth. But anyway, I am a very hopeful person. So for years, I was waking up in the morning and thinking, today is going to be my day. I'm going to go and practice law. I'm going to go and defend people. I'm going to find the truth. And I'm going to touch it and speak up the truth. And after a few years, one day, I came to my office and I put my briefcase on my secretary's desk. And I said, I do not want to be a lawyer anymore. I cannot find the truth. She looked up to me and she said, welcome to reality. Where have you been?
And describe that for me. Just stop for just a second and describe, when you're saying that you were looking for the truth, you were so frustrated that you walked in and you laid your briefcase down and you said, I'm finished. Mm-hmm. What is it that you were looking for that you couldn't find? When you say you were finding the truth, what do you mean by that?
I was trying to find something to represent and to show the government or to the people that this is right, this is correct, and everything that I found was corruption. Nobody listening to me and nothing tangible for me to prove to them that it was wrong. Everybody.
Okay, so in your studies, you mean you're studying, you're trying
Yes.
to find ideologies, philosophies that are literal
and then
truth.
in practice, to actually practice that.
To implement them into the law.
To implement that.
All right.
But God had a different plan.
Yes.
The day when I was at the end of my road and saying, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore, as the secretary said to me, welcome to reality, she also gave me 3 files. And she said, those are the 3 clients. They will come today to see you. And by the way, one is in your office. So I went inside of my office. I took the files. I went inside of my office. And indeed, the client was inside of my office. And this client, I have been working with him for a year. And several times during this time, I was saying to myself, I need to talk with this person. It's something wrong with this person. He is full of hope. He is full of joy in a land where nowhere you can find those things. But I was too busy, one client after another. But that day in particular, as he put documents on my desk saying those are something new or saying facts and everything, pay any attention to anything he was saying. And I was saying in my mind, where is the truth? Where I can find the truth? And all of a sudden, I found myself looking at him and saying, I want to have in my life what you have in your life. And he looked at me and he said, do you go to church? And I was thinking, what in the world going to church has something to do with having peace and joy and something else? But I was polite and I said, yes, I go to church.
Was it illegal to go to church?
At Christmas and Easter. No.
Not illegal.
No, it wasn't illegal, but I went to church, as I said to him, at Easter and Christmas, but I never heard the gospel, never heard the gospel at the churches that I went. So he said to me, would you like to go to church? And I said, I was so determined to find the truth.
Desperate,
and I
yes.
said, yes, I will. I did the craziest thing that a lawyer can do in communism. I mean, you say to your client, I go with you, but I don't know where. I go with you, but the government can kill me, can take me away, can arrest me, and everything. But I was so desperate. So I went to, he wrote his church address and everything. And the next Sunday, he was waiting for us in front of the church. So we went there, he showed us a place to stay, and as I walked inside the church, I realized that I have never been in that church. I was only in a Catholic or Orthodox church where you have lots of icons. This church was, the walls were empty, nothing there. So as I was walking inside of church, I heard the choir singing, "Sinner, come home." And I was thinking, I'm a lawyer. Somebody is called sinner here. I have no idea who that is. I had no idea what sin was. But I thought to myself, these people are welcoming. So he told us where to sit.
Where is the sinner? Where is the sinner?
It's somewhere. I don't know who that person is, but that's not me. I'm a lawyer.
That's great. That's great.
So I stood there with my girls, and the pastor came, opened the Bible, and said, Jesus said, "I am the truth, the way, and the life, and nobody comes to the Father except through me." It was a huge church. It was quiet, absolutely quiet. And in that quietness, you hear somebody saying, "What?" That was me. I was saying, what? Somebody finally proclaimed that it is the truth. And the lady sitting by me gave me the Bible and showed me the Bible verse. And I got glued to that. And I got glued to the pastor. And that day I accepted Christ.
Beautiful.
And that day changed my life forever. Ended my search for the truth. I realized I was looking in the wrong place. In a law book, the law system, Jesus Christ is the truth. But that day I also heard his appointment for me. He put on my heart the desire to find the truth when I was 6 years old, in order for me to find him. Mm-hmm. And the next step, he said, "I brought you to me to defend Christians. This is why you are a lawyer." So shortly after that, a lot of people came, because at that time it was illegal in Romania to have a Bible, or to share a Bible with someone, or to have with your own family just a night where you watch a Jesus movie. Or churches will be demolished because the government will not give them permission to fix the church, to maintain the church, or to extend the church. And they will say, "Oh, you are on the waiting list. And when the church will become in disrepair, the government will come, demolish the church, and take the land. As you know, the communist and socialist government is not in the business of building churches.
You know, I do find it interesting that it was illegal to have a Bible, mm-hmm. but not illegal to go to church, because then in the churches, would people have Bibles in the churches? Would the church itself have Bibles within the structure of the church? So then how could a church keep Bibles within the building if it was illegal to have Bibles?
I'm so glad you asked this question, because one of the essence of the socialist and communist government is to work on lack of opponents, lack of presented the law the way it is, and working on rumors. We had the right to have a Bible. This is why when I took all those cases, mm-hmm. and people that were in jail for having a Bible, I won all these cases. Why? Because in the law books, I found in the law books, there were laws adopted during capitalist government, but never eliminated by the socialists and communists.
You found the loopholes.
Yes,
okay.
And not only that, but I heard from the Lord, because I really believe that the Lord speaks to me and I speak to him. He's real to me, more real than I am to you. And the Lord guided me to make copies of those laws, because what if the judge will say to me, "I'm not sure what you're talking about." So I gave the judge and the prosecutor copies of those laws, and they had no choice but to let me win. And it's something else. When God gives you a job, he not only gives you the power to stand up, the courage to stand up, wisdom to use everything that you have, but he gives you protection. At the time when I was presenting my cases, and you'll say courageously, I gave those papers of the law to the judges, I had no idea that behind me in the courtroom, there were representatives from people from Western countries, from United States, France, Germany, all over the world, and they were taking notes because they never heard of a woman under 5 feet tall, 88 pounds at that time, who will take the government to court and win. Because when you have everything that God asks you to do the job, you are a winner. Yeah. There is no way.
That's awesome.
No way.
That's awesome.
Yes. Yes.
So you are not the government's friend because you're taking them to court. You are winning case after case. So what was the reaction that the government had to you and your newfound faith and your defense of other Christians like you?
You remember I said about the way the government selected people to go to law school? Mm-hmm. The reason they did that is because the person who will be a student in law school will have the capability in the future to be a lawyer, a judge, a Supreme Court judge, an ambassador for Romania. And the government wanted to make sure that those people will be loyal to mm-hmm. government. Mm-hmm. So you, because of your position, you're considered an elite in Romania as your position. I won those cases, and the government put me under interrogation daily, and they beat me, they threatened me, will kill me and my kids. They even told me that because I use those laws, I become an enemy of the state.
Can you be more specific with what that looks like? Do you mind me asking you that? To just be specific, how soon after you started winning cases did they come for you, and what did that look like? Did they show up at your door? Did they arrest you and take you to a jail cell? What did that actually look like, and the abuse that you suffered there?
Mm-hmm. From the minute that I started to take cases for churches and Christians, my house and my office was bugged. They knew everything about my whereabouts. They knew everything about when I go to church and when I come back. Sometimes they will move furniture in the house. Sometimes they will follow me, and I knew they will follow me. Sometimes they will cut my tires. And I had several times when they pushed me in the intersection when I was waiting for the lights to change.
So another car behind
Yes.
yours would ease you into the intersection.
Yes. So they wanted to look like an accident. And they interrogated me daily, telling me that what I am doing, it's not what I am supposed to do because I am the elite, and I was living in a nice place in Romania. I had a good salary, and I was able to buy good things and have a good life, and they said everything will be taken away. And
the physical abuse, what did that look like?
Many times I was full of blood. They had I know everyone is bigger than me. I'm under 5, but they were big in the interrogation room, and they had guns on the table, and they will hit me, and they will do absolutely horrible things, bump me in my head to the desk, and blood will be all over me. But when God gives you the job, He gives you something that I have to say it's hard to think or to say it, even to say it, but you learn it to do it, is to love your enemies. Because even under interrogation, I was looking at those people, and God reminded me, the Holy Spirit reminded me, pray for your enemies. And it wasn't pleasant what they were doing, but I remember telling them, I know you have a job, but I do know that I have a job too. I knew that I was there by a divine appointment. So they could see Christ in me. And many times I told them, I don't like what you're doing, but God loves you, and I choose to love you. I couldn't say I love you. It was so painful what they were doing. But I decided to tell them, I choose to love you. Those huge men, they were not able to look in my face. They were turning their face, and they were crying. Yes, in my eyes. They were crying.
Because were they being told this is what they had to do?
Yes, but God's love conquers everyone.
Yeah.
Is that
remarkable or what? Is that remarkable or what? It's remarkable. I want to continue this conversation with you, and we're going to do that. It's so hard when we have these part ones and these part twos, because we have to take a little bit of a break and end this particular segment of our conversation with you, Virginia. But you are a delightful woman, and you have so much resolve and strength. So much resolve.
I am under 5 feet tall, but I had a huge God inside of me.
Yeah, you've got a huge God inside of you.
I do.
This has been a great conversation. We're going to continue it. So make sure that you not only see this one, but you stay tuned and come again for part 2, because this is not the whole story. There is more to this story, so much more that's going to help to boost all of our faith and help us to get a little backbone in our spine so that we can stand strong for what it is we believe in. Would you please help me to thank Miss Virginia for being with us today?